So here I am with a deluxe edition for my third episode of the JBMcast. As a special feature this month, I have the pleasure of bringing you a recording of an interview with London-based photographer Oscar May. You'll no doubt remember that the story I read in episode 1 was a collaborative piece inspired by an image supplied by Oscar, inspired in turn by a theme given by the Treacle Well, an indie online literary journal. Now, I threatened back then to try and catch up with Oscar to chat about his work, and what a gent. He happily came to Brixton a few weeks back, tempted by the spicy offerings of my kitchen, to talk with tea and give a scratch behind the ear of Ollie the dog. But before all that, you'll be wondering why I've not been in touch yet this month. I've been busy. Since we last spoke here, I've been visiting family in Budapest and Inverness. Sounds from these places you've heard already. And I've read from the differing style masters D.H. Lawrence, his time shifts expertly showing small life struggling on desperately by, and Henry James, depicting high society sidelining, marginalising the growth of love. And I've returned to the poetry of Liz Berry and Sharon Olds, who toy with language in the face of days that would crush the likes of me. And I've been listening to Mac DeMarco, to Homeshake, to Animal Collective, and of course to Radiohead, to Beach House and to Cigarettes After Sex, and with all of this, I've come back to my work and asked, does this grapple with the world? Am I cutting corners? Is this real enough to be real? True enough to be true? And observations don't only come from music and literature and other arts. Like a typical Brit, I turn to nature and to the weather. The light this autumn has been fantastic. There have been afternoons where the sun set so low and bright, my shadows faced me on a wall opposite 20 metres away. It set all the nervous restaurants in London waiting for their evening trade ablaze. Empty 4 p.m. windows display gleaming cutlery and show red sun caught in wineglasses. Rays bend and reflect until the horizon sends in the night. In the day, the blank skies drop a cold temperature from their blue depths. Near the sun, azure, light and crisp. Towards the east as the day shortens, deep and frozen, that same ice blue which gives way to stars. Even in London, they pierce the night here and there with distant continuity. We've had fog and mist thick enough for the dog to run ahead and disappear into, thick enough for thoughts to run ahead and disappear into, thick enough to bend thoughts to the supernatural, to the strange and the mysterious. Like many people, I was looking forward to an astronomical event that would lend to all this mysteriousness. In mid-November, a supermoon, a full moon occurring whilst nearest to Earth in its elliptical orbit, this time drawing closer than in 7 decades, was to rise and wow. Naturally, in London it was cloudy and the moon couldn't be seen. But in the Highlands of Scotland, access to nature is simple, and on a short break from the capital, I could try to recapture those thoughts that had gone straying into the London fog and then bring the landscape to bear upon me. On the shores of Loch Morlich I walked, watching the quiet pines watch me pass, peering between their tall, thin trunks for any movement, listening out for the calls of birds but hearing nothing other than the soft lap of gentle waves against the coarse sand, seeing nothing but the huge sky heavy with clouds brushing against the round shoulders of the Cairngorms, feeling only the cold on my cheeks of the wind from the water blowing through me, blowing back towards the south, 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 blowing back towards the south. Do you think you'll pick up the snoring dog?
I don't think it'll be disturbing.
I don't think it'll be disturbing. Ollie, roll over, mate.
Have some tea.
Have some tea. Cheers. Joining me in my kitchen in Brixton is my fabulous nephew and also fabulous fashion photographer, portrait artist and general all-round nice guy, Oscar, popping in for a cup of tea and a stir-fry. And you also might hear, amongst the sirens and the usual Brixton sounds, my sleeping dog, Ollie, the French bulldog, who's pretending to be asleep and making a few noises. Anyway, hello Oscar.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for joining us. So Oscar is, as I say, my nephew. It's a difficult introduction, a member of the family who's also an artist in his own right, because that's what you are in my eyes, someone who's followed his heart into his work and managed to make it a major part of his life. But before I give too many spoilers, how about you tell listeners what it is you're up to and what it is you do?
Okay, well, I am a photographer, as James says. I mostly do portraits and events, and occasional bit of fashion as well. And weddings also kind of are a big part of my work at the moment.
Yeah, they come across the horizon sometimes.
Yes, but I think portraits are probably my favourite thing to do.
Right.
That's been my kind of ongoing fascination in photography for most of the time I've been doing photography. So
The ongoing passion.
yes.
Okay, cool. And you've been going for how many years now?
I would say I've been doing photography for 12 years.
12 years?
Yeah.
And for a young man who's not quite made it into his 30s yet, that's quite a long time. And you've been pursuing it professionally for that whole time?
That was when 12 years is kind of since I first picked up the camera and was trying to do photography in an artistic way.
Right.
But doing it professionally since 2009, which is 7 years.
Right, okay. Excellent. And you say 12 years since you picked up the camera, but that's not the first time you picked up a camera.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's not entirely the truth. But
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can tell listeners from an uncle's perspective that I remember Oscar as a very small boy inspecting very well what probably now seem very retro cameras of the 90s and just being fascinated with them as a sort of object, but never really, I don't think you ever treated them as a toy as such.
No, I definitely didn't treat them as a toy, because I remember this one time when I was on holiday, my brother and I had the same camera.
Right.
Well, we wasn't the same one, but two ones the same.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just kind of throwing it around and like managed to break it, and I was really angry at him because I was like, it's not a toy. I'm gonna be careful of these things, and he just didn't understand. And
this is the big brother coming out of you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Well, he was probably even smaller, so we'll let him get away with that.
Yeah.
He might listen.
Making noises, and
he's always making noises. Yes.
He's a musician, so.
Oh, that's true. No, well, now he's
his aim.
He's a bona fide grown-up himself, so he's got his own creative outlets. Which, yes, we'll hopefully one day get him on here as well, and we can talk, and he'll get his own back with a story about you being, boisterous and spoiling his fun by taking his camera away. But yeah, I do remember you as a kid with a camera, and I remember you always taking pictures and having a sort of eye for it. And people talk about this, if you've got a good eye or you need a good eye to be able to take a good photo. And it's funny these days, obviously technology has changed, and virtually everyone's got a camera, a pretty good one, on their phone, on their smartphone, and the culture is to upload pretty much whatever is in front of you to Instagram or to Twitter or to whatever. I need to pose this question correctly. Do you think this the amount of cameras available to everybody detracts from those people who are seriously pursuing photography as a sort of art form, or do you think it should be open to everybody?
It's a really interesting one because it's quite hard to tell, but it definitely seems like as a photographer there's a lot more competition now for jobs and just being able to get noticed, because there is just so much photography or just photos and snapshots uploaded online that you need to really cut through that and get noticed somehow. And it definitely does make it tricky. But although the quality of the cameras is much better than it used to be, still people manage to take bad photos.
Yeah.
Good quality bad photos.
Good quality bad photos.
But it has opened it up to loads of people who actually found that they are good at taking pictures and are known for it. So.
And they might not have realised.
Yeah, so I think it's good in that way. But as a photographer, it has made it trickier. But I think it pushes me to try harder and get noticed and learn things that a camera and a phone can't do. Good lighting has to be thought about outside of the camera and with extra lights, or knowing how to pose someone in front of the good light, rather
than just snapping a sort of spontaneous thing. I suppose as well as the rise of the camera phone, although the technology there has improved, probably the quality of the professional's camera has improved as well.
Oh, yeah.
So
definitely.
I imagine there's still a difference between.
Yeah, there's definitely still a gap between the quality, which I'm glad about, really.
So talking about that, having an eye for a picture, did you notice that you had this ability, or is that something you cultivated because you were enjoying using cameras?
I think I did notice at some point, but I remember my mum was telling me that I think it was at my sister's christening.
Right.
They gave me a camera to walk around with, and I took some pictures, and then they got the photos back, and they're really amazed that they actually came out okay.
Right.
And I was getting good reactions out of people I was taking the pictures of. And they thought it must be just because I was young, and everyone was like, "Oh, look, it's a little boy with a camera. Let's pose nicely for him." But I think that definitely was part of the case. But I guess maybe I was thinking about composition even at that point.
Yeah.
Making sure that I got everything in a frame.
Yes.
And I think that always just felt like a natural thing to do.
Right.
For me.
Oh, good.
But I guess not everyone has that sensibility. Carrying on, I think I was always thinking about the photo that I was taking, not just snapping.
Yes.
And then I think I did realise that I liked composition, but maybe not specifically for cameras, but just when I was trying to be arty.
Yeah. I wonder, a thought just occurred, I wonder if when you were using the older cameras, obviously there would have been film, so you would have been a bit more, you wouldn't have been so trigger happy perhaps, because you would have had a limited amount of pictures to use, so I wonder if that made you think a bit more carefully about pressing the button. Whereas today, obviously, well, actually, this is an interesting question to ask a pro. I think because the file size of a picture taken on a very powerful digital SLR today, how big in terms of memory is one photo, and do you still have a sort of limit on your kind of film in inverted commas, or can you pretty much take limitless?
So with my camera, one file is about 40 megabytes, which adds up pretty quickly. But I do have plenty of memory cards, so I think at any one time I probably have at least 256 gigabytes worth of memory in my pocket, ready to put in.
So you're never going to run out.
I'm not going to run out, because I always, when I first started wedding photography, I got to the point where I'd run out and I'd have to kind of run off and upload onto my laptop, but it was very unprofessional to do that. So
of course.
I've now stocked up.
Well,
that was a long time ago that happened, but
I guess you would have they would have been smaller in memory capacity.
They were. Memory's getting cheaper and cheaper, so it doesn't make sense to limit. And then I have a few hard drives at home that I'll back up everything to. So I don't think there's really a limit on how many photos I take. I'm not just snap happy. I try and think about each photo that I take, and I usually would then take a couple more just to make sure I haven't got someone blinking or
of course,
something like that. But
okay. And just for the listeners who are interested in the technical specs you're using, what camera have you got, and which lenses do you prefer?
I have a Canon 5D Mark IV,
right,
and my favourite lenses are the 85mm prime lens, the 50mm, which are both f1.2, and then probably my other favourite one at the moment is the 100mm macro lens. Right,
macro, so that's for like close encounters.
Not necessarily, but I do use it for that, but also I use it for portraits, which works very nice, very fine detail, but maybe too much detail sometimes.
Sometimes, Well, that brings us to a good thing to talk about with photography. I guess the 90s, and perhaps the 80s as well, were quite famous for airbrushing and post-production, and a lot of people could have been airbrushed completely out of a photograph, or indeed models could have been made thinner, and there were a lot of issues that come with that. How much do you do personally in terms of post-production, and how much do you sort of limit, or how can you limit yourself, or if you should limit yourself?
Well, when I first started, when I was studying at A-level, in my art lessons I used to do almost completely photoshopped images, so I would actually start with just stock images I find online and try and put them together to make a bigger image.
Right.
And then I was getting a bit frustrated not having the right images to work from, so I thought, why not take them myself? That would make much more sense.
Yeah.
Especially as I was starting photography A-level at the same time, so I thought that would make much more sense.
Yeah, sure.
So I began by doing that, and then as time went on and I learnt more about photography, I did less and less of the Photoshop stuff and tried to get it more in camera, and I still, to this day, kind of learning how to get a better result in camera so I can avoid doing the work afterwards, because although I think I'm quite good at Photoshop and I can make things look okay, it's just a much better result if you can get it in camera.
Yeah.
There are a couple of things that you can't really get in camera.
Okay.
Like colour.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
When you say in camera, just to sort of put that into really basic terms, how do you mean, just sort of playing with depth of field and focus, or are you talking with light and shutter speed and that?
It's a bit of everything. I definitely think the depth of field and the focus is essential to get that right in camera, because it looks pretty crap if you try and fix it afterwards. Yeah. And you need to spend a very long time to make that look okay.
Yeah, sure.
But if you get it right in camera, it can look great.
Yeah, and then you save yourself a lot of time.
Yeah.
Right.
And then composition's always much better to get it right in camera, because you can't really easily change things around afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So you, in a way, learning post-production's kind of taught you what not to do in a sense. It's taught you to spend a bit more time planning when you're behind the camera rather than relying on.
It's definitely taught me what things I can think that I could fix afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
There's not many of those things actually.
Yeah. No, that's great. And you said that you studied at A-level photography. How about you talk a bit about your sort of pursuit academically of photography?
So I did arts and photography A-levels amongst others. And then I chose to carry on to study them at uni. But at first I went to study foundation art course in Farnham. Right. Because at that point I wasn't quite sure if I was going to do photography or maybe graphic design, which was another thing that I'm really interested in. Yeah. But quite quickly I realised that photography was for me. Yeah. And so I kind of was very fascinated at that point. That was when I started getting more fascinated in portrait work and people. Yes. Because that's actually something I found the most difficult when I began. Right. Was taking pictures of people and making it work, and so that it had a likeness to the person I was photographing. Because actually, it wasn't as straightforward as I always thought it should be. Yeah. Okay. At that point, when I was doing my foundation, I knew that I wanted to do a degree that had something to do with photographing people. Right. But most of the courses that I could find were just general photography, and I kind of knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. Yeah. Okay. So, I found that London College of Fashion had started a couple of years before, started a fashion photography course. Yeah. I thought that was probably the most suitable one for me. Okay. So I applied, and I think it's quite a competitive one because it's only fashion photography degree course in the world at that point. Right. Wow. Well, that's what they told us anyway. Yeah. So there was I think it's definitely quite hard to get in, but luckily I did manage it somehow. Yeah, that's great. And so I started there in 2006. Okay. Right, so that's your 10-year anniversary of starting at London College of Fashion. Yeah. Well, happy anniversary. Oh, thank you. Quite crazy, actually, thinking about that. Yeah, well, time goes very fast, doesn't it? Yeah, that's true. So I suppose the uni experience, you get not just the kind of professional tuition about photography, which you were already engaged with, but you have a kind of peer process where you meet other people who are interested in the same thing, and this starts you on a journey of not only a kind of friendly criticism of other people's work and receiving the same kind of constructive criticism. And the reason I say this is because I can kind of relate, having studied creative writing, where the format is very much workshop based, and then you have sort of theory and analysis kind of on the side. But the greatest part of it was to meet with other writers who not only understand what you're into, but also believe in themselves and in the possibility of pursuing it as a kind of a realistic way of life, rather than just before you go to a creative writing group you think, I'm going to be a writer, and then you're suddenly terrified of even having the thought. But how about talking about other photographers you met, or how other photographers' work has inspired your own work? Okay. I think about that.
Yeah, sorry, I sort of threw that at you. Well, it's, I suppose in not just in the realms of the course, but also like photographers you came across, whose work you came across at uni.
Okay, well, it's interesting about my course is that not many of the photographers that I met there have actually gone on to continue with photography, which is a shame. But there are a few ones who are really good who have kept on, which is reassuring. But I did meet some other photographers at that during my university days as well, who have continued to work and inspire me as well.
That's good.
So it's been definitely like where I made friendships like that.
Yeah. And do you think being in London, because I know you grew up on the Isle of Wight, and moving to London must have seemed like quite a big move to come to the capital. Do you think being in the cities had a big impact on your development and your work, or do you think it's I mean, in terms of networking, I imagine it's a benefit.
Yeah, you have to be in London really for networking, and I think most of my work opportunities will be in London. Yeah, it definitely has influenced how I work, but I definitely I think I draw a lot of inspiration from my upbringing in the Isle of Wight, and I always like to work outdoors in nature, and so I think it's definitely had a big part of shaping how. Yeah, certainly.
I mean, I know the Isle of Wight's famous for its music festivals, and I know you've had a few gigs being contracted to take pictures at festivals.
They've been fun gigs for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's that like being like the first time you're given a sort of press pass and you go backstage and you're snapping away?
I couldn't believe my luck actually. I think because of the Isle of Wight festivals, I've been to festivals every year since I was about 12, I think.
Yeah, excellent.
And to be involved at another kind of level, not just attending, but to get to see behind the scenes was really cool. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that gig especially, and then to be able to continue doing more was good fun, definitely.
Yeah, great. And I suppose if you're interested, as you say, in taking images of people, then you get a complete diversity of people at festival. The demographics of I suppose there's jokes about Glastonbury being really kind of white middle class, but even within that, in the British music festival scene, there's a huge attendance. And you can see all sorts of people.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people it's like their only holiday in 1 year, and they go there and they go crazy. Yeah, and it's so interesting to see. And I think I was quite lucky that the job that sent me to the festival was photographing the people there rather than the acts. Yeah. Because I like photographing music acts, but to photograph the people was really something a bit different, I thought, and gave me the opportunity to observe and kind of get involved.
So you take more candid photos rather than sort of posed.
Yeah, I took a mixture for my client, but my favourite were the candid ones. Yeah.
And have you got any funny stories about festival craziness?
Oh, I might have one. There's so many, but the one that really sticks in my mind was at Reading 2011, I think. Right. I was there with my friend Felix, who was also photographing for Festival Annual, who is the client. Right. And I think we were a bit competitive because we were trying to get the better kind of one-up on pictures, get the craziest photos. Right. And so I was walking around and I went to see some of my friends who were also there. And they're camping with some Scottish guys. Right. And I was telling them what I was up to, and they all thought it was quite interesting, but one of them was really keen to get in the book. Yeah. So he was asking me, like, what can I do to actually be in the book? I don't want to have a chance of being in the book. I want to definitely be in it. So I told him that you have to do something really crazy to actually have a guaranteed spot in the book. Yeah. So he was trying to think of something to do, and I think one of my other friends suggested, why don't you dive in that river of mud? Because about a week before the festival started, the whole site had flooded. So there's massive, so muddy. Everywhere's so muddy. There's this actual river of mud in between the main path and the tents.
Literally a river of mud.
Literally a river of mud. And it was full of all sorts of stuff. I don't know. Don't like to think
grisly stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, he said that he'll do that if I get him a towel, So
Okay.
I went off to find him a towel, and I managed to find a stall where they're selling camping goods, and I found a towel. So about an hour later, I went back to him, and he kind of saw me, and he realised that
His time had come.
his time had come, and he was going to get muddy. So I mean, the towel was so he can go and have a shower afterwards.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, sure.
So we all kind of paraded him down to the river of mud.
Yeah.
And my friend was shouting to like, come and watch a drunk Scottish man fly into the river of mud, and managed to get a really good crowd surrounding us, and everyone was like, jump, jump, jump. I reckon there must have been about 100 people.
Yeah.
And I've got a picture of the crowd surrounding him
Brilliant.
somewhere. So in the end, he did a running belly flop into the river
Genius. Into the river of
of mud,
mud.
and I took the picture of him midair in the mud, and then standing up again, and then doing a flip back into the mud, and
Yeah.
it was
Mud everywhere.
a very memorable moment.
Genius. And he made it into the book?
He did make it into the book.
Oh, excellent.
I was hoping he'd make it front cover, but quite
Drunk Scotsman on the front cover of the
Yeah.
annual. That sounds good to me.
flying Scotsman.
I see what you did there. Cool. Oh, well, we'll have to arrange for that picture to be... so I'll try and get a link somewhere for people to come and have a look. Well, so that's I suppose that's a bit of everything there, because you've got the guiding the subject's own kind of stagemanship coming into it, the competitive rivalry with Felix, your friend who was there, and then just the sort of atmosphere and the opportunities of the festival and the spontaneity of it all. It must have been quite a cool moment. But how about at the top you were talking about portraiture being your favourite. How about we talk about that a bit and say you mentioned another thing about how capturing someone's likeness was the hard part of portraiture, because although you've got a photograph of them, it's clearly them. I suppose if you're working with a subject who you know quite well, and for some reason their personality doesn't show through the picture, how do you go about solving that problem of I mean, is it because, for instance, they're not calm in front of the camera? Because I know having a lens pointed at you can make you quite nervous. How do you go about capturing somebody's essence, their personality, when you portrait?
Yeah, it's very true that when I put my camera up into someone's face, they kind of lose don't lose their confidence, but they kind of, the look changes. Like when it's not like you're just standing in front of them anymore. You kind of put the camera
There's
there
something between,
and they kind of think about how they look, and then it changes, and so it's quite
becomes sort of self-conscious and self-aware.
Yeah, and you can kind of see that in a photo. So I think I always try and relax them as much as I can before, and just kind of tell them that there's no pressure, and try and feel as calm as they can. But obviously that's not going to really solve the problem straight away. Yeah. So I think I'll just start taking pictures and make sure that they're in a pose that they feel comfortable with. Right. And if they don't feel comfortable doing anything, then I will kind of guide them into something that I think would suit them. And maybe I'll show them as well, like me doing it. So
so you sit down or whatever. Yeah.
And then I don't want them to be rigid like that. So I'll kind of then say, just move how you feel comfortable, and I'll tell you if it looks weird or something, so don't you worry about that. Yeah, I see. Yeah, and do you think portraiture traditionally, to my mind, is it's a still of someone, isn't it? How about, can you capture movement in a portrait, or do you focus really on representing that person's character? I think you could definitely do something with movement as well. Yeah. In a still, you could have a motion blur of some sort, but I think you'd have to be careful with that you could still see the person clearly, or clear enough to know who it was. Okay. But you could, I think I've seen some nice video portraits of people as well, which
that's interesting.
So I think it's nice in a way, because you get to hear them speaking maybe, or just see them doing things, but usually it would have to be doing something that's what they're known for. I see. Doing things that they like.
I've not heard of video portraiture. How long does a typical video portrait last? Is it like a GIF length? Because you see a lot of GIFs, don't you?
Maybe probably the ones I've seen about 30 seconds.
Oh, that's quite long.
Ish. Yeah. I've seen a really long one once, but I think it's done in the 80s in New York, and I can't remember who it was that conducted, but it was just a guy kind of sat looking at the camera
So it's been around for a long time then?
Yeah.
Since the
Yeah,
80s.
people have been playing with the idea, but I think that stills portraits are probably definitely still the main thing.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I'll have to do some research into that.
Yeah, I had to find out who that
Yeah.
original one that I saw was by. So that's the first time I've even considered it as a thing.
Sure. Oh, well, we'll follow up. And whilst we're on the subject of sort of, I don't know, pioneers and people who've inspired you, have you got any favourite photographers that people can kind of have a look at their work if they've not heard of them before?
Yeah, so who's my favourite? Well, the pioneers, when I think of pioneers, it made me think of a photographer called Julia Margaret Cameron, who was around in the Victorian times.
Okay.
She's one who started it, I think she was like 47 when she started.
Okay.
And I think she was from quite a wealthy family, and her husband used to travel for work, so she'd be left alone, actually on the Isle of Wight.
Okay.
Which is really cool bit of history for the islands that I don't think she came from there. I think she was born
She ended there. She ended up there.
She ended up there, but she was actually born in India. She started photography at that quite late age, but she didn't really want... I don't think she was aiming to do it as a profession. It was more of an artistic venture. Yeah. But she moved in some quite famous circles, like Lord Tennyson was in one of her pals. And so she used to make these like kind of scenes, like Shakespearean scenes with like local kids and some of her friends, but she didn't usually have that really still, like she didn't want that serious Victorian kind of like portrait where
rigid,
stay very still and rigid. So some of her photos were slightly blurry, but like technically not perfect, but had really nice lighting, and the effects that happened from that was just photos that are actually full of feeling and emotion, which was really
she broke away from those rigid portraits, which were just to show a likeness. And I think she brought sort of emotion into the frame,
and I think probably her photographing quite famous people as well. Really kind of brought that to the masses, and she pioneered kind of the direction of portraits which was really interesting. And then a few other ones that are more recent would be Gregory Prudson. He's a fine art photographer, but he often has people in his photos. But they usually use like film lighting, so he'll shut down a whole street. And he'll have kind of massive lighting
from floodlights.
Floodlights, and everything's thought down to the smallest detail, and there'll be people in them, but they're usually kind of frozen in time, which is really interesting. A lot of psychology goes into... I think he's the son of a psychologist, so he really thinks about the emotion in the photo and the interactions between the characters, or the character and the space. So that's
taking composition to the next step, isn't it? So.
But also the photos are beautiful, so that's definitely a good one to look at. One of my favourite portrait artists is Annie Leibovitz. She's just like, the colours are amazing, the light's amazing, but she definitely has a very good connection with the sitter that she's photographing. I've heard once that she tries to spend at least a day or maybe 2 days with the subject before she actually gets the camera out. So she can really make them feel at ease. And
so she builds up the chemistry and like you were saying before about having someone feeling at ease, you're more likely to see their true character coming through, rather than the sort of the face that they put on before the lens. Everyone's kind of got that little pose that they strike, and the camera comes their way, and it isn't necessarily a real reflection of who they are.
Exactly. So I guess that's
Annie Leibovitz.
It's good to know that that's kind of what she does. So who else? Well, one of the ones I get inspired by people who are like around my age but are doing really well. So one of them's my friend Lara Jade. She's just like excelled. So like she thinks she's one of the best fashion photographers around, really.
Excellent.
But, it's kind of encouraging to see that my friend's doing well. And
it is great.
Every time I meet her, she kind of feels inspired when I go home again.
So. That's great, because I another thing that I can take back to my own experience as a writer is although there is a huge competition between writers to find agents and publishers. There's always so many more writers, but when a friend of yours does well or has something published that they're proud of,
Yeah.
It's just such a great feeling to see them succeed in that way.
Yeah.
And it does inspire. It doesn't give you an ounce of jealousy. I think it's really.
Yeah, I don't feel any jealousy at all.
No, it's just great to see people breaking through and getting their work out there.
Yeah.
And it does make you think about your own work in a positive way, in an optimistic way.
Yeah, it does.
Which is important sometimes.
Yeah, and it kind of lets you know that it's possible to kind of get to where someone is in their career.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's great. So that's a few names for people to go and check out.
Yeah, I'd recommend them all.
Yeah, and going on this sort of subject of friends, back on my first podcast, this is podcast number 3 now, at the end of the sort of show, I read a story called The Lost Tower, which, as I mentioned in the outro, was a collaborative project which we worked on together.
Yes.
And it came down from the literary magazine online, was the Treacle Well, and they put a call out, which magazines tend to do sometimes, but they don't always. They were looking for work based on a theme, and this theme was Into the Woods, which could be interpreted any which way. They also welcomed photography or art to be submitted along with the prose piece. So I called the only photographer I knew, and you were really willing to get into it. And I didn't give you any work because at that point I hadn't written anything, and I just gave you the theme Into the Woods.
Yeah.
And then you went off and took a photo, and that photo you sent to me was the inspiration for the story. So how many projects like that come your way, and what can you sort of?
Not enough, I would say. I really like collaborating with other creatives, but quite often it's just me and the client who usually has an idea of what they want, but it's rather than collaborating, they're kind of saying, give me a starting point and kind of
send you off on your way.
Yeah, just come up with what I need. But so it's nice to work with actually like another medium of creativity. So
yeah, no, it's good to cross genre like that.
It was the first time I worked with a writer. Yeah. Although someone did once write a poem about one of my photos.
Oh, that's nice.
It was really cool.
Was that something that you orchestrated, or did they just get in touch?
It was when I used to use Flickr.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of photo sharing community for people who don't know.
Yeah.
And probably the only other collaboration I've done with a writer.
Right.
In a way, but I have done a lot of collaborations with musicians and bands, which is a fun thing.
Yeah, of course, because back when you had just graduated from London College of Fashion, I happened to be in a band called Great Outdoors, and we were playing together in the noughties for about 5 years, and you were our sort of go-to band photographer for the whole time, and you got some great pictures of us various venues playing, but also in recording sessions you'd be there snapping away. One of those sessions we went up to Wales. John Nathaniel Pike, who is now Tiny Leaves, neoclassical post-modern musician, he I can't remember if it was his uncle or a friend of the family, but he had access to
I think it might have been his wife's.
Yeah.
I can't remember that, but it's a really cool place.
Yeah, they had this cottage in the Black Mountains, and we filled my brother's truck. My brother Will was the bass player of the band, and he's also a gardener, landscaper in his other life. And we emptied his truck of mowers and strimmers and filled it with drum kits and filled it with recording equipment, and took off to Wales for the weekend. And you came along and took some really nice pictures. You've worked with other musicians as well.
Yeah, quite a lot of work with bands and musicians. It's always I've always grown up in quite a musical family, so
yeah, of course,
it's really great to get involved with musicians. I think.
Yeah, well, it's like you said earlier about bringing your genre of art into another and sort of mixing them up and sort of seeing what's possible and seeing what happens. I know you've done some work with video photography as well for musos. Yeah,
I've done, because the cameras that I use, I've started being able to do video as well. It's given me an opportunity to do work in video, so I've definitely given that a good go, and I really do enjoy a good video project now and then.
Oh, I'll bear that in mind for future Farewell Clarissa projects.
Yeah, I'll definitely be up for that. So it's nice having a kind of different type of project and get stuck into something which there'll be a bit of a learning curve usually, because I don't know everything about videography, but enough of the principles are the same to photography that I can, if I look up and learn about a certain method, then I should be able to make something work.
Yeah, excellent.
Sorry, there.
Yeah, there's Ollie's now moved on to chewing his paws. You might have heard him sort of snoozing earlier, but he's woken up a bit. It's a good thing when a challenge is brought into a project.
Yeah,
like that learning curve you're talking about.
Yeah, I always enjoy learning something new, so apply it to something I'm working on. That's really makes it a bit more
interesting.
Added element of interest for me.
Yeah,
but I think the good thing about working on music, doing videos, is that you can tell a story in a different way, and it's quite satisfying for it when it comes together.
Yeah, that collaborative element again comes in, I suppose.
Yeah,
especially with storyboarding. Oh, you're so noisy.
He's a very noisy dog.
Even when he's quiet, he's very noisy. Yeah. Ollie the French bulldog. What a great guy. Well, anyway, I guess, is there anything else you wanted to talk about or plug whilst we're...
I think we've covered a lot.
We've covered quite a bit, haven't we? All right. Well, in terms of sending listeners on to be able to check out your work, where can they find you online?
So I have a website, which is www.oscarmay.com.
Right.
And then I also have a separate one for my wedding photography, which is www.the-occasion.co.uk.
Right.
And I also, the most used social media for me is Instagram.
Right.
And that you can find me on there with the handle @OscarMay_.
Okay.
Which is the same handle as I use for Twitter.
Right.
Which I don't really use as much, but I'm trying to get back into it at the moment.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel as natural for me to use Twitter for some reason.
Well, your language is image, I suppose. So Instagram is where you're spending most of your time. But if someone gives you a tweet, you'll probably reply.
I will get back to them. I still have the notifications coming through, so
yeah, sure.
I do check my Twitter probably about once a day.
Oh, right, okay. So you're not. I'm
not completely dormant, but I'm still there, but usually just as a silent observer. And then Facebook's the other place that you can find me.
Right.
And I think the easiest way to find me on there is just to search Oscar May Photography.
Right, okay. Great. Well, that's plenty of stuff for people to check out. Meanwhile, thanks very much for coming and enduring the dog and having a nice meal, and it's been great fun.
Great.
So cheers.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Cheers.
One more cheers with the teas. Thanks for tuning in. The sounds you heard were recorded on location at Lochmorlik, Aviemore, and at Budapest, Hungary, and the intro groove was me playing electric guitar and keyboard. You also heard a little drop of me on a Steinway Grand. The interview with Oscar was recorded in Brixton. In case you're worried about the legal things, I've copyright and permission of all of the material used. The photographs Oscar mentioned are temporarily on my blog, where you can also read more about my work. Just go to jamesbrucemay.blogspot.co.uk. You can also have a look at my YouTube channel by visiting youtube.com/cheapschmeep. If you'd like to get in touch about anything in the podcast or just to say hello, you can either click on the Talk tab on my blog, give me a tweet to @James_Bruce_May, or send an email to James_Bruce_May@hotmail.co.uk. I'll catch up with you next month. Meanwhile, happy holidays.